This is quite an interesting little camera. As you may be able to make out, although it's a bit dark, it's badged Miranda, but I'm pretty sure it's not a Miranda. In the early 1980s, the Dixon Camera Company bought the rights to the name Miranda, and they rebadged a lot of Casino cameras as Mirandas. So this camera is in the lineage of the Casino CT range. I should have spotted it straight away, I guess, because I had one of these Casino cameras in the late 1970s, and although it was a silver one, and it did look very, very similar to this. This is a budget range camera. It's a manual only camera. It's very, very simple to use, and it would have got a lot of people very interested in photography. A little look at the top dial. We've got the wind-on lever here. We've got the shutter release. We've got the shutter speed dial, which runs from 1/1000th of a second to 1 second plus B. The flash sync speed is 1/25th of a second, as you can see here. Around the rewind knob we have the ASA selector to put your film speed in. This runs from 25 ASA through to 1600. It's got a 50mm f2 lens, again badged Miranda but not made by Miranda. The back of the camera is pretty featureless. Put the camera up. You can see it has a vertically running steel blade shutter. There's no DX coding points in this because this is pretty early for that sort of thing, and a simple pressure plate on the back. Bottom of the camera we have the film rewind clutch release, and we have the battery holder. The lens itself has the Pentax K mount, so there are hundreds of lenses which will fit this camera. Reasonably reliable shutter speeds, access to very, very good lenses. This is okay, but there are lots of better lenses available. The metering system is very simple. It's 3 LED lights. If the top one is showing, you're overexposed. If the bottom one is showing, you're underexposed. If it's the middle one, you're spot on. And you can move either the aperture dial or the shutter speed dial to get that middle LED working. One interesting point which many people are somewhat baffled by. The camera is wound on, but it won't fire. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a small flange just here. When the wind-on lever is in this position, which you consider quite natural, that flange stops the shutter firing. You actually have to have the lever in this position before the shutter will fire. This also acts as a switch for the meter, and it works fairly well, apart from the 10% of the population who are left-eyed. If, like myself, you look through the viewfinder of the camera with your left eye rather than your right eye, this camera becomes really difficult to use. And that's what I remember from having one of these back in the 1970s. Nice camera, almost impossible to use. So I got rid of this and I replaced mine with a Minolta XG2, which was a much, much nicer machine. However, that said, for 90% of the population, this is a perfectly reasonable camera. Nice entry-level budget single lens reflex camera which would get a lot of people interested in photography. Original price would have been about £150. These days not so much. So the Miranda single lens reflex 35mm camera.